When you go to Hersheypark, you're planning on riding some rides, aren't you? And with all of the rides, coasters, and attractions at Hersheypark, you want to know which ones are the best, right? The last thing you want to do is end your visit finding out that you didn't even get to ride the best attraction at Hersheypark, but have no fear, your Hersheypark helper is here, and I want to share with you the 10 most popular rides to check out at Hersheypark. So let's get on into it. Throughout our visits to Hersheypark as a season pass holder, we've been able to check out a lot of their attractions, and these are some of the 10 most popular ones that I have seen, but also that I enjoy myself. So let me know what you think of this ranking. Do you agree with it? Or let me know your personal favorites in the comments below. The 10th most popular ride at Hersheypark is called Comet. This is a classic wooden roller coaster that has smooth drops and turns and is really loved by coaster enthusiasts. Now, I will say personally, I have not checked this one out, but I have seen so many comments and reviews on Comet. It is a very popular ride at Hersheypark, and quite frankly, I don't know why I haven't checked it out yet. It's also one of the older rides at Hersheypark. It is a wooden roller coaster and it's been around for about 75 years. The 9th most popular ride is called Laff. I had not experienced Laff until our last visit to Hersheypark, and I kind of see the hype around it. There is a long line for this attraction usually. It is a completely indoor coaster that, quite frankly, every time you ride it, it's going to be different because the cart spins as you are riding. The ride has a funhouse theme, and there's a lot of neon and fluorescent glow effects going on inside. The line for this ride is also very entertaining. As you're going through, there's all of these mirrors that you can entertain yourself with. Throughout the ride, there's some funhouse characters, so it is a very unique and interesting ride and would be a good one if it is raining throughout the day. You can go ahead and escape there to stay dry, but also continue to maximize your time in your day. The 8th most popular ride is Reese's Cupfusion. Before we get into this, do you say Reese's or Reese's? Please let me know. This is a very interactive and fun ride, not only for kids, but for adults as well. I like this because it's very mission-based. It's good for friendly competition amongst your friends and family, but essentially there are targets placed throughout the ride where you use a device to shoot the targets to gain some points. The theming of this ride is you're becoming an agent to help protect the factory and the crystal cup, and there's a lot of deformed candies throughout the ride that you are looking to shoot to gain some points to help play along throughout the ride. It is neat because you can either choose to be competitive with your team where you just go about and try to get targets on your own, but there's also ways to work together where you can unlock Easter eggs to gain some more points or some new features throughout the ride, so that is another thing that you can look into whenever riding Reese's Cupfusion. This is also a very popular ride that usually has a long wait time. It's also another good indoor coaster ride that you can check out, but just know that as far as planning goes when riding rides. The 7th most popular ride is called Jolly Rancher Remix. This is another one of the newer coasters at Hersheypark. It's a reimagined previous coaster called Sidewinder. Jolly Rancher Remix is a really fun ride for a couple of reasons. I really enjoy it because it is Jolly Rancher themed. I've never seen something like that before. The neon green color of the ride is super enticing and a very good addition to Hersheypark. But essentially, you are sitting in the coaster and you start one way on the ride. You are brought and pulled up a large hill. You are let go to experience the ride. There's a couple of twists and turns and loops, and then to finish the ride, you do it all completely backwards. Another neat thing is you go through a tunnel, and one thing that I didn't know the first time I rode it is whenever you go through the tunnel, there are different smells that you can smell, and these are 5 completely random Jolly Rancher flavors that you can smell. There's flavors like watermelon, green apple. Let me know what your favorite would be if you were to ride. Personally, I would really like grape. You invert 6 times in 90 seconds, and there's also really fun music playing throughout the ride. I really like Jolly Rancher Remix. The only thing that I don't like about it is there's only one cart that's able to be run at a time, so this can kind of increase the wait time whenever you are riding. The 6th most popular ride is called Great Bear. This is a very popular ride for a couple of reasons, but this is a suspended coaster that has a ton of inversions and soars over the park. Trust me, you will not miss Great Bear. It is a very loud attraction. It actually roars as it soars past you, and you can most likely hear it throughout the park. Honestly, I think the sound kind of adds to the intensity of the ride. It's a very good coaster. There's a lot of twists and turns throughout it. The ride starts by lifting you 90 feet in the air through a hill and then launches you down into a little hill. It is quite graceful though. Even though it's an intense ride, it's not like smacking your head around too much. So it is one that is very intimidating. I know this is probably one that I was more nervous about going into at Hersheypark just because of the intensity, but that shouldn't hold you back. You should still go and enjoy it, and I highly recommend Great Bear. The 5th most popular attraction at Hersheypark is Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit is very unique at Hersheypark because it is a ride that has a vertical lift and then drops you down into a 97-degree drop. And throughout the ride, you experience a ton of inversions and it is very fast. I personally like this ride ride because it is a relatively long ride, and in the past I have seen the wait time get pretty long, but there's also been times that we waited about a half hour to ride. So it's one that I still recommend at Hersheypark, but maybe decide on riding the ride based on the wait time. Since we're halfway through the most popular rides at Hersheypark, I want to invite you to hit that like button and the subscribe button to keep up with more Hersheypark tips. Now, the fourth most popular ride is called Storm Runner. Storm Runner is a ride at Hersheypark that has a very insane launch and a ton of inversions. I know we've been talking about a lot of the rides at Hersheypark having a lot of inversions, but I really like Storm Runners in general because I've never seen ones like this before. So to begin, you are launched on Storm Runner. You have a 0 to 72 miles an hour launch that it happens in about 2 seconds. A very unique feature of this ride, not only is it the launch, but it is the 135-foot long Cobra roll. There's barrel rolls, and you are dropped down into a dynamic snake dive, which makes the ride very thrilling. I know the first time I went to Hersheypark and I saw Storm Runner, I did not think I was going to be able to handle it or do it because of how tall the ride is and how intense the loops look. It is so fun, one that I recommend checking out, and you have to be a little brave to do it. Third most popular ride is called Skyrush. Skyrush is popular for a couple of reasons, but I've seen a lot of chatter about it in the Hersheypark community. A ton of coaster enthusiasts love this ride. It stands out a lot at Hersheypark because of its bright yellow color, and it snakes through a lot of the park. Now, throughout the ride, you do reach intense speeds and a ton of airtime. The really unique thing about this ride that I experienced for the first time is it is a winged coaster. I'd never been on something like that. Now, to start the ride, you are pulled up a 200-foot tall hill, but the neat thing about Skyrush is it starts slow and then you go progressively faster up the hill until you get to the top of it, where you plunge down at 75 miles an hour. Throughout the ride, you experience 4 high-speed turns, 5 0G airtime hills, and I recommend when riding checking out one of the winged seats. Skyrush is a great ride, but the only qualm that I have with it, and you'll have to let me know if you experience this when riding, but I absolutely hate the restraints. The thing is, there's a lap bar that comes down, and throughout the ride it becomes increasingly more snug to where at the end of the ride your thighs are incredibly squished. And depending on how quickly the ride is able to load and unload, you may be sitting on the ride for a little bit after you ride. And I know the last time that we rode Skyrush, my thighs were incredibly squished by the end of the ride, which makes me not enjoy it as much. The second most popular ride at Hersheypark is called Candymonium. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite rides in all of Hersheypark until the first one came around. This is the tallest, fastest, longest, and sweetest ride in all of Hersheypark. I love it because it is candy themed. All of the different ride vehicles are based around the Hershey bar, Reese's cups, and Twizzlers. And the ride really stands out. This is the first ride that you'll see going into Hersheypark. It has a chocolate brown color, which I think is very nicely themed. The main features are the camelback hills throughout the ride, where you get a lot of airtime. This is a huge coaster that lasts about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so it is a very long coaster, which I really enjoy, and it does take up about 7 acres, so it is a large coaster. The really unique thing is that I just found out is whenever Candymonium and Skyrush come together, they form a Candy Rush. Both of these attractions are very close together, so I think that is a neat thing that happens. So if you're a little nervous about doing coasters at Hersheypark, Candymonium is one that I recommend because it isn't too intense. There aren't any inversions or loops or anything. There's really just hills that you have to worry about, and it is a very nice, smooth coaster, so it's one that I recommend checking out if you're a little hesitant about coasters at Hersheypark. Finally, the most popular ride at Hersheypark right now is called Wildcat's Revenge. Wildcat's Revenge is the newest coaster at Hersheypark. It just opened earlier this summer in 2023. This is the reimagined Wildcat that was previously at Hersheypark. It was a wooden coaster, but now is a hybrid coaster. This is super cool. It's one that I have never checked out and maybe you have never experienced before. So it still has some of the previous features of the wooden roller coaster, but now includes some inversions, intense speeds, and also the world's largest underflip. This is a very popular coaster. We were able to check it out during the media day at Hersheypark, and if you want to see that video, you can check it out here. But to start the ride, you do climb up a large hill and you drop down an 82-degree hill where you continue out the ride and you reach speeds around 65 miles an hour. The thing I liked about Wildcat's Revenge too is it is a very long coaster, so you are able to experience it for a long amount of time. We loved riding Wildcat's Revenge. It is the newest ride and one of the more thrilling rides at Hersheypark that I recommend checking out during your next visit. But if you're planning a visit to Hersheypark soon and you have no idea where to start, I want to share with you 5 tips that you need to know before visiting Hersheypark in this video right here. What do you think of these rides? Which one would you like to ride when visiting Hersheypark? Or if you've been before, which are some of your favorites and how would you rank them? Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe to keep up with more Hersheypark tips, and with that, we'll see you in the next video. See you guys!